And the most lost people are people who don't even know
Mhm.
that they're lost. I mean, when you know that you're lost, you at least understand where you are. But a lot of people don't even know that they're lost. They've got this complete disconnect from reality. And it only takes a very short conversation with anyone to understand if their feet are on the ground, if they are grounded in reality, or they're living in it's almost some kind of fantasy virtual universe, which is not even a real place. And it's not always a bad thing if you can channel it into something constructive. Like if you're a fantasy writer or science fiction writer, you need to get lost sometimes in order to have that element of creativity. Um, but everything needs to be organized in a constructive way. And I was thinking about how society, I think, in the Western world has recently, over the last 5 or 10 years, transcended or crossed into a new phase of development. This is for intellectual people, not for the average person, but for the intellectual people who have realized a lot of things, like the madness of politics and political parties. Like before, people would join political parties to have influence. Now, people set up Facebook groups. There's been a paradigm change. And people like Tony Robbins
Mhm.
and their motivational techniques have been far more beneficial for the world than things like politics, which is just a form of divide and separate and conquer people, basically, and control people. Whereas these motivational speakers have been
Mhm.
uh, encouraging people to connect, well, first with themselves and then with other people as a result, and to break down barriers and borders. And I think that if more people go in that direction, the future will be very positive. And I was looking at the American political campaign right now, and I was thinking about just the complete bullshit and lies presented every day by media, and how it just seems to be acceptable in that area of the world to present bullshit and lies and manipulation and mistruth and half-truth and all of these things, which are symbols of a sick society.
Mhm.
The fact that you can get up every morning and go to work and tell lies to everybody and be happy about it is, which is what the media does most of the time. Or tell things that they don't know if it's true or if it's not true, which is just as bad. This is a very sick society. There are a lot of people who need a lot of help, and people like Tony Robbins are trying to help. They're trying to to cure society of
Mhm.
this disease that we have, this living in belief rather than living in understanding, and how powerfully important it is. And it could be that it's so important that
Mhm.
the difference between us having nuclear war and living a peaceful existence in the future could be things like what Tony Robbins says. Because Tony Robbins has worked with leading political minds and leading business people, and um, I think has helped a lot of them find some peace within themselves, which where otherwise they would be angry people and doing bad things or wrong things. And I think this is extremely
Mhm.
important and will become more and more important in the future as state education dies because it can't change and technology increases the speed at which people connect with each other. So I I hope that that will have a positive influence on on the world around about, and and I think it is having a positive influence at the moment. Like we are seeing uh, the alternative media
Mhm.
grow into something which is better than the state-run media. We are seeing television be replaced with independent people creating their own YouTube videos. Um, we are seeing humanity being creative and using that in a positive way. Um, all of these things growing and developing. So I think it's all a very positive way to look at a world which is very often negative. And from my own experience, I sometimes have a negative frame through which I look at the world, and I am trying more and more to look at the world through a positive framework, not to see the problems, but to see the opportunities that exist, and not to create problems, but to create opportunities as well. Just easier said than done, for me at least. Maybe for other people it's not like that, but for me it's like that. Um, so I would recommend the documentary I Am Not Your Guru by Tony Robbins as an interesting look into that world. And I have watched a lot of interviews with Tony Robbins recently, and he always says the same thing in each interview, which makes perfect sense. I don't want it to make sense, but it makes sense, which is you can only you can only take steps forward in life by giving to people. And that's it. That's the whole principle. You can always take steps forward by giving. Uh, Nothing else um, has value.